Yo, what's happening, everybody? I am doing this video. This is a video, in case you didn't know. But I completed a while ago Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, and I had a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about regarding it. I would still really like to do a stream online where we kind of do a bigger discussion and more involved discussion with other people. And Garrett, uh I want to talk with him about this stuff too, but he's still playing the game and it's going to be a long time before he beats it, and I kind of wanted to get my thoughts out fresh still, on the game and how it wrapped up and how it all came together. I want to kind of just talk about how it ended. There's lots more I want to talk about the game, that I will maybe on a stream later. But for right now, I just wanted to talk about how it wrapped up. I've heard lots of mixed stuff from people on what they thought about how it ended and how the whole game came together when it was done. I should say I beat the main story. I didn't 100% the game or anything like that. I beat everything in the main story. There's still a lot of side ops I didn't do. I'm just talking about the main story. My thoughts on how it wrapped up. This is all spoilers, obviously. If you haven't played it, you shouldn't be watching this. Or if you haven't beaten it, I should say. I think that the way that the game ended was extremely appropriate for that game. This game stands alone on its own as its own entity, as its own organism, whatever you want to say. It doesn't really rely on, though it's part of this awesome series. Metal Gear series is really cool. I think it makes a bigger statement than just being, oh, here's another scrap of story from this universe that you didn't really know before. That being said, there are some things that, as a fan of the whole Metal Gear universe, that I was a little disappointed by, but I think it was the most appropriate way to end this game. And what I'm referring to is the way that it concludes. You discover, again, going into heavy spoilers here, you discover that who you've been playing as this whole time is not Big Boss. You are yourself. It is a character that you developed in your likeness, in your name, in the very beginning. Your avatar that you create, that it's you. It's you in this game universe. Regardless of the name, it's someone who was a valuable soldier to Big Boss. Medic. It was a medic who wasn't even really named in a previous title or anything like that. But you finally see their face, and it's you. It's your own likeness that you designed in the game. This probably doesn't make a lot of sense if you haven't played this. So I'm glad that you're probably not watching this if you haven't. But anyway, it's kind of, to me, that explains a lot. You're playing through the Phantom Pain, and it kind of feels like, man, this is the story of Big Boss, but he's not really participatory as much as the other ancillary characters. You know, the other characters that are around you. Ocelot is taking charge on this. Kaz is taking charge on that. You know, and it's kind of the intensity and the, a lot of the drama in this stems from those guys calling all these shots. And Big Boss is kind of passive in it, and it doesn't really feel right. And as I was playing the game, I'm not somebody who doesn't like Kiefer Sutherland's performance. I thought Kiefer Sutherland did a great job, but I did think it was weird. He wasn't saying so much, and he wasn't participating in the conversations quite as much. He kind of was the observer in the whole thing a little bit. You know what I mean? And as I played the game, but before I beat it, I thought to myself, okay, that is a little weird, but I came to terms with it. I thought, well, what this game is trying to do is put me in the seat of the Metal Gear Saga. It's putting me. It's at the center of it all. It's trying to. It's as close as you can get to a silent protagonist in a Metal Gear game. It's trying to put me at the center of it all. So I've said it before, but Metal Gear Solid 5 is kind of like the Metal Gear theme park. It's kind of letting you be at the helm of the adventure. And I thought, oh, well, that's probably the direction behind him not saying as much. It's because you can also switch out your character and play as a different soldier, or anybody. It's meant to be kind of interchangeable. It's meant to be more of a personal adventure. And that was all just driven home by that ending, when Big Boss was you and you were Big Boss. I think a lot of the people writing the ending off immediately as stupid. Oh, that ending scene was stupid. At first, I'll admit, I was taken aback by the twist, and I kind of thought, this kind of came out of nowhere. But the more I thought about it, the more it seemed right for the game. I think a lot of the people writing it off immediately as stupid are not really applying critical thinking to it. Because it is jarring at first, and I get that, but I think that ending was really, it was Hideo talking to the players. That ending peeled back the fourth wall in more ways than I think a lot of people appreciate. And I think it was a completely appropriate way to wrap it up. Kojima has always been very anti-hero worship. And you already know that if you've played Metal Gear Solid 2. Really, if you played any of them, Solid Snake was the big hero in Metal Gear Solid 1. Solid 2 comes out, what happens? That guy's sent to the bottom of the fucking ocean. Here you're playing as Raiden. Who the hell's Raiden? He's just another soldier. He's just another guy. And it's meant to kind of put you in the eyes of just a regular soldier, and Metal Gear Solid 3, you still don't. If people will just want to play as Solid Snake, you still aren't playing as Solid Snake. Metal Gear Solid 4, okay, you're Solid Snake, but you're not even who you want to be at that point. You're aging, you're falling apart, you're barfing, you're getting shot at, you're electrocuted. It's you're never really given a glamorous just action hero. Because Hideo didn't want it to be like that. He's always been very anti-hero worship. And at the end of Phantom Pain, he's speaking directly to the player. That's his message to the player. And, I don't know the exact words that he says off the top of my head, but it's basically, he says, I'm Big Boss and you are too. These experiences and the legend is just as much you as it is me. We made this legend together. All those crazy, he basically says all these crazy experiences and all the cool shit you did in the game, you could project onto that character, but it's you who did those things. And Hideo is really talking about that, this whole thing, he's basically, don't worship the creator, don't worship anything. It's just as much as yours to share. This whole experience, the Metal Gear Saga itself wouldn't have been able to materialize without the players being behind it and really digging into it and making it what it is. Hideo is great for creating that stuff in the first place, but it really belongs to the players that have made it the phenomenon that it is, And I think that was a really personal, intimate ending for that game. I really thought, and driven home by the fact that he takes the cassette, he's got the man who sold the world, whatever, he's got the message from Big Boss on the cassette, and he flips it over, and it's Operation Intrude, or whatever the first mission is in the original Metal Gear, the MSX game, and he puts that into the cassette player, and it starts playing this high-pitched, shrill noise. And if I'm not mistaken, I haven't read up on this or anything, but that it's connected to an MSX machine, isn't it? Which is what the original Metal Gear game was played on. You can't break the fourth wall more than that. Hideo's talking to you directly, that this whole thing started and snowballed into what it is because of you as much as it was him. Now, you could argue Hideo's the brilliant one here and we're just kind of observing it, but it really, it's a statement from a creator to his fans on almost the shared responsibility of celebrity, kind of. Does that make sense? I might just be rambling here. Again, I'm trying to get just fresh thoughts off my brain. But I thought it was a really good, personalized ending. And it affected me. I thought it was really cool. The twist was jarring. It was a little nutty at first, just like, okay, what? But yeah, I grew, after a little bit of thinking on it, I really liked it. Now, I will say, I thought that was a perfect ending for that game. A game entirely about personalizing the Metal Gear experience. But I will say, as a fan of the Metal Gear universe, the fanboy side of me, maybe there was a little disappointment. Yeah. You were marketed this game as I'm playing as Big Boss in his final days of when he plummeted into becoming a villain. And I wasn't given that. So I understand. I don't think people are crazy for being disappointed. Because it really wasn't that. And as much as I might dig the ending and whatnot, and I thought it was cool. Wow, there at the end, there's the real Big Boss. There he is, and he rides off. I'm still kind of thinking, okay, so, no, really, why is he such an evil asshole in the Metal Gear 1 and 2 in the original games? What? This was the game that was supposed to be the bridge to that. And it was cool in the statement it made itself. But no, really, how did that happen? I really want to know why, if I recall correctly, I haven't played the original games in a long time. He's kind of a crazy asshole in those, right? Like, and now you're telling me, in Metal Gear 1 it was his Phantom, and in the second one it was really the real Big Boss. But they seem kind of fucking twisted in those games. So what happened there to make that happen? This was the game that was supposed to kind of give us that, and instead it didn't. It kind of pulled the rug under us and didn't give us that last piece. Right? Now, that being said, you could say Hideo's fourth wall breaking ending is kind of the teardown of that. Like, hey, man, it doesn't fucking matter. You're the one interpreting and digging into these things and materializing them into what you want them to be. It doesn't fucking matter what really happened. You could take it as kind of a teardown of the whole thing. But I don't know. I love the Metal Gear canon, and I feel like Hideo does too, and that's why he keeps adding to it and is so referential and keeps such knowledge of his own stuff and displays that in his games. I just can't imagine it. I don't know. I'm torn on that part of it. Does that make sense? Like, I don't really understand totally that part of it. The other thing I don't understand in the ending too is, and maybe you guys might have a better perception on this than I do, but the fact that the real Big Boss was hidden away, like that part I thought was really cool, but the fact that he was hidden away by Cypher, by Zero himself, I couldn't really understand that because I thought Zero and Cypher was like the enemy. Like they were the ones that blew up Mother Base and did all this destructive stuff to go after Big Boss, and then the one who saves Big Boss and hides him from the world is Zero himself. Like I didn't really get that. What I think it might be, maybe this is my interpretation of it, is that all of Zero's shit that he put in play got out of hand and got out of control, and he thought to himself, well, fuck, this Skullface guy has gone fucking insane. He's just gonna kill Snake outright. I never intended for it to go this hardcore. So, and not to mention the Patriots started growing out of control and things like that. That Zero thought, okay, it's eluded me, it's kind of gone too far, and that's why he did that for Big Boss, because ultimately he still did respect him. That's my interpretation of it. You got to tell me. I hope some people out there have another one, or maybe can back that up, because I think that, yeah, I'm trying to understand that as best as I can. Those are my major issues with it, but the rest of it seems really cool to me. And honestly, despite what I said about some of the canon there and some of the how Big Boss acts in Metal Gear 1 or 2 or Venom Snake, you know, in the case of Metal Gear 1, I still love continuity shit like that. I mean, I've said it time and time again, and I still think it's cool that wasn't Big Boss in the original Metal Gear, that was Venom Snake that you killed. And it explains why he's suddenly back in the second one. I think that's really cool. Like, I love shit like that. Even if it doesn't totally add up in every way, I really enjoy that. So I like that quite a bit. But, you know, there were those couple things I was kind of struggling with. So I don't think everything is necessarily perfect, but I still think that's in the scope of the Metal Gear universe before and after this game. For this game standing on its own merits, I thought it was a great way to end it. I don't know anybody else who's ended a game like that. You know what I mean? It just really, on its meta level, worked for me so well for a game that put you in the cockpit of the whole Metal Gear saga, Metal Gear Adventures, you know. I can't think of a better way to end it than to show that it really was you, that Big Boss and you are the same guy. Don't worry about these clones of Big Boss. You are Big Boss. You were always behind Big Boss. And he thanks you for it. And it's Hideo thanking all of us for it. I can't think of a better way to end it than that. Anyway, give me your thoughts. What do you think? Write it down and mail it to me. Send a letter. No, I'm just kidding. You could just... YouTube has comments now, I heard. So you can probably just do that. Anyway, all right. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to all that bullshit.